Good evening, workshoppers. Here we are. This is going to be the last episode of Westmarch Workshop before the Necromancer is released. I hope I didn't scare anybody. I got Steven over there.
Sweating bullets.
That was good. That was worth it. But we do have a surprise in store for you. For when this intro screen goes away, like that, like magic, we do have a special guest here joining us tonight. And so, before we get into the introductions and everything like that, I just would like to welcome everybody to Westmarch Workshop, episode 119, Rise of the Necromancer. It's here, everybody. We've got the official release date. We got the official price. It's happening. It's happening. It's really here. I can't believe. We've been talking about the Necromancer for what feels like, what, 8 months, 9 months? And then,
just about. It's
yeah, right? And then now it's here. I know that last episode we promised not another Necromancer episode, but, well, spoilers, we lied.
Sorry, not sorry.
So sorry, not sorry. And, yes, here we are. And again, one more second before we get to the introductions. Do want to go through and give a big shout out, of course, to our sponsors, Intel, Legion by Lenovo, and of course BlizzPro.com for going through and giving us this wonderful platform to go and talk about, you know, dead things and corpses and demons and satanic rituals and all that other types of fun stuff that you probably shouldn't mention with your sponsors. But hey, that's how we roll here.
It's for the kids.
Exactly, for the kids. Here, as you can see, in between your regularly scheduled co-hosts, we have Lionsword. So go ahead and say hi to everybody there at home.
Hi to everybody there at home. I'm sorry, that joke is so dead. I just couldn't help myself.
No, you have to bring the dead things back. That's what this whole episode's about, right?
I didn't even mean to do that. That's fantastic. Hey, thanks for having me tonight. I'm actually very excited to be on. I appreciate you guys having me. It's going to be a lot of fun.
That's what we hope. And if it's not, you won't be back.
It's cutthroat here.
No pressure.
None.
I mean, it's like,
whatsoever.
We are hardcore players, so it's kind of the same thing. You either perform here or you die.
It's like Neinball opens the episode with, "This is our last Westmarch Workshop," and it's this guy's fault.
You know where to pin him on. Who to pin it on.
Yep. So, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Not sorry. But, yep, here we are. And tell us about yourself. You know, of course, for those that are in the Westmarch Workshop, or I should say the BlizzPro clan, the Westmarch Workshop community, you probably are a little bit familiar with this guy here. Yeah, go ahead. Tell us about yourself. What do you do, and why are you on our lawn?
Well, I got invited to your lawn, so it's your fault, not mine. No, I'm just a dude that plays video games, man. I work in the finance industry during the day and play video games on break, and I've been playing Diablo since, like, I don't know, when did it come out? 97? I've been playing Diablo since 97. I play all Blizzard games, to be quite honest. Yeah, married,
Diablo's
kids.
your favorite.
Diablo is my favorite franchise. There's no doubt about that.
As long as it's your favorite, we'll allow you to branch out from there.
Well,
Paycheck went through.
I appreciate that. Between the wife, kids, dog, work, I get to my weekends are pretty much shot. Like I'm kind of the opposite of most gamers in that I don't play games on the weekends almost ever. My game time is usually during the week at nights because the kids have to go to bed early because they got school. Mm-hmm. And during the summer, I just tell them they have to go to bed early anyway.
Keep it going.
So right, you don't want to mess up the routine. That's it. I just I do. Diablo is, as like Steven said, Diablo is my favorite franchise. Has been. I played. I love Warcraft. I love World of Warcraft. I've been playing World of Warcraft since it came out. But I always come back to Diablo.
Awesome.
I actually have a World of Warcraft story to tell once we get to Weekend Gaming.
Whoa.
Right?
Yeah. Well, we're gonna hit all the franchises today at this rate.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Well, excellent. Yeah, thank you for the intro, Lionsword. I know you and I have bonded across, like, speaking of franchises and games and things, like, we often talk about our love of Final Fantasy and Final Fantasy Tactics in particular, so...
Oh my god, I want that sequel. I want that sequel.
That'd be so sick. We keep our fingers crossed. Square might be doing some things right, so we'll have to see.
I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for the Final Fantasy VII remake.
Yeah, it is coming. Well, at least they at least have satisfied fans that they're working on it. Do they ever release it? We'll
yeah,
see.
ask Kingdom Hearts fans about that one.
Oh god.
I mean, they said that it would be out by the end of this year, 2 years ago, right? And then they said just a couple months ago, oh, by the way, like, it's really going to be 2019.
Leviathan, remember that game that you were playing back in December? What was it, Final Fantasy 15? When was that game announced?
You know, they talk about Diablo 3 being in development now. Holy moly, dude. Yeah, FF15 had its share of issues as well, too.
Yep.
But you know what is coming is the FF12 remake, or re-release, or HD, whatever they're calling it, the Zodiac Age version. That's next month. Pretty excited about that.
July 11th will be out my door.
You'll have exactly, what, 9 days to play it?
Not very long.
How many days?
9?
9?
There it is. Yeah, so that's... Oh, well, I mean... You know, that's something to talk about once we hit the news section, but I am excited for the fact that there's a nice long stretch of time to do things between the end of things and the beginning of things. No spoilers.
No spoilers.
Except for when we spoil it in about 10 minutes.
Yep.
But all right, so I guess we should. We've meandered along about other games and things, and we've done the intro, so how about some weeks in gaming?
Who wants to take first crack?
Well, I think being, you know, upstanding gentlemen, we should let our guests go first.
That sounds like a good idea.
I don't know. You guys were giving me a hard time about my weekend gaming. So, let's see. Where should I start?
At the beginning.
At the beginning. Good call. So the Final Fantasy 14 expansion just came out yesterday, and they had early access for it starting last Friday. So I did that on Friday and Monday, and a little bit of yesterday. And before that, I was playing Diablo. And not to get too much into the Season 10 foreshadowing that we're going to get to later, but Season 10 was easily my best season that I've ever had in the seasonal play for Diablo 3. And it's not close. Like, there's no comparison to any previous seasons. I put in 20 to 30 more hours than any season previous. I got to my highest Paragon level, pushed my highest Greater Rift. So I, you know, working on that over the last couple of weeks, really over the last month, has just been awesome. It's I'm not a big 4-player meta player. I don't play in, like, you know, the perfect groups, and but I do enjoy just playing the game. I'm a big fan of the loot hunt aspect of Diablo, so that's my favorite part. So when I get into, you know, really playing Diablo, like, that's what I do. That's what always brings me back. So that's what I spend a lot of my time doing. I'll just, you know, when I have 15 or 20 minutes here, I'll hop into a couple rifts, you know, do a set of bounties, re-roll my Fist of Aztarask that still won't go ancient, you know, over and over again.
Yep.
You know, that's what I do. You know, shout out to Dread Scythe, Knight, and Shepherd, and Nod, and Tiger Lily for playing with me this season. And I apologize to anybody else who did play with me that I left out. It's not my fault. But, you know, one specific evening we were playing and doing, you know, they let me play Exploding Palm Monk in the 4-player meta instead of, you know, another terrible or better than Monk DPS class, because Exploding Palm Monk was like 3 metas ago.
Right.
But it was awesome. And I love seeing the giant blue Exploding Palms just everywhere. And it was just, if you hit it on the cold CoE, it just explodes the entire room. It's so good. So good.
Yeah, that's you and I think Minion were having a kind of conversation where even though Ulianas and some of the exploding palm type stuff is kind of out of the meta, there's still something really satisfying about that playstyle. So it kind of reminds me of when I talk about Condemn, like just you gravitate towards those builds that just feel awesome to play, even though they're not the most powerful or topping the leaderboards.
Yeah, no,
Go ahead.
One of the things that I really like about Uliana is that it really brought Exploding Palm and an ability that never was used, Seven-Sided Strike. It brought them together to create just this awesome build where you could just create density and then just blow it all up, and it's great. And I soured on it a little bit because it became kind of a snapshot gimmick build because everybody was snapshotting the one Exploding Palm on a high HP mob with a power pylon, and then you literally just drag that mob through the whole zone. And I just like it's the clever use of game mechanics argument, is in that it's not against the rules, it's not an exploit, like it's how it's intended to be, but I don't like that playstyle. So again, that's another reason why you can't push Uliana up as high as you can really 3 or 4 other monk builds. But I still enjoy that specific playstyle because it just, there's something, like Leviathan was saying, there's something super satisfying about getting a bunch of mobs together and then blowing them up.
It's just that awesome thing of seeing all the numbers and then all the things fall down.
Yeah, body parts everywhere.
I wanted to ask, you mentioned that Season 10, is by far your best. You spent the most time in it, you're most successful. I feel like it's fair to say that we're seeing that across the board for pretty much everyone that has spent time playing this season. So what would you personally attribute that to? What aspect of Season 10, whether it be some patch change or just, like you said, playing with some of the other people of the clan, what was it that drove you to do more and go higher this year, or this season?
I think it's mostly being in the Blizz Pro clan, because this is my first season in the clan proper. I mean, I've been playing off and on with most of you guys for a while, but this is my first season in the actual clan, and being able to, there's a big difference between solo and Leviathan, because you did a solo season. There's a huge difference between playing the game mostly solo. My real life friends will play the season for a couple weeks, but there's a big difference between playing the whole game solo and then playing the whole game with more people. Because with more people, you get more XP for doing the same stuff. You do the same stuff faster, and the potential it literally is exponential as you add in good players. And fortunately, we have a lot of good players in this clan, and I'm not sure you took me because I don't qualify into that category. But
it's okay, I don't either.
That's why I don't play hardcore. I always blame my internet, but it's just because I'm bad and I die all the time. And it's so, but I understand and I'm okay with that. But no, it's having more people to play with, because more people, it not only does it make the game more efficient, it makes the game more fun. I feel like Diablo, outside of the campaign and the story, just adventure mode in general, is a social game. It is something that you can do with your friends, something that it doesn't take long to really power through 15, if you've only got 15 minutes, you can do 1 act worth of bounties. I get one feature that definitely helped me is not having the bonus act of bounties, because there are multiple instances where I've got 15 to 20 minutes to play, and if I sit down and think to myself, well, I can do a couple riffs and then get some keys so that I have keys for later. I need bounty materials, but I have to do Act 5 first. God, I don't want to do that. And Act 1's first, I have literally 100 more Act 1 materials than I do any of the other ones, because I farmed for Ring of Royal Grandeur so much early in the season. And now I don't have to worry about that. If I have less Act 4 mats than any other mats, I can just say, okay, I'm going to go do Act 4. It'll take me 10 minutes, and then I can move on to whatever else I needed to do. If my 18-month-old is pooped all over himself or thrown up in the bed, I can go take care of that, instead of feeling like, oh, maybe I should wait 15 minutes to go take care of that because I have to finish this act of bounties. I'm not sure my wife would really appreciate that.
So legitimate quality of life improvements.
Yes, anytime you can affect the marital relationship with a video game change, that is an A+ in my book.
That has to be like like a form, like a metric that we have to use, for future content and updates.
I dig it. Where does it rate on the baby poop scale?
So and I think finally to wrap up why I enjoyed Season 10 so much, I found a build that it's not as fun for me as just doing the Yulion Exploding Palm, but it's pretty close. I stumbled upon this while I was perusing the leaderboards, looking at all the monks and seeing what they were doing and trying to find something other than Raiment Generator, because I played that to death. Trying to find something else that might interest me. And I stumbled upon this like in the 600s rated or something, and it was a 7-sided strike build using the Innis set. And I thought to myself, I might be able to get behind this. And with my Lashing Tail Kick speed build using the Legacy of Nightmares rings, I had only been able to get up to like 70 reliably. I put this set on, did a 70 in like 5 minutes, did a 75 in like 8 minutes, did an 80 in 10 minutes, and this is all like back to back to back. And I'm thinking to myself, why isn't anybody else playing this? This is like incredibly strong. And I managed to get it up to 84 before it slowed down. But I found that I really liked that playstyle enough that, there's Exploding Palm is in the build just because you're using Yuliana's 4-piece to buff the 7-sided strike damage, so you've got the Yuliana 2-piece, which gives Exploding Palm to everything, but the damage on Exploding Palm is like negligible. The damage is all coming from 7-sided strike. But you still get the feeling of grouping up density using 7-sided strike to kind of blow up everything. That attributed to the lengthening of the season, because a lot of times I'll play for the first 6 weeks, 7 weeks, get to like Paragon 650, and then I'm not a big Greater Rift pusher. Like I can't Leviathan slam my head into Greater Rift after Greater Rift after Greater Rift and fail and fail and fail. And what really gets me is getting, and I know that you have to, especially when you're playing hardcore, but to clear a rift and then get a boss that you can't kill, even when you have time, but you get a boss that you're like, no, this guy is gonna one-shot me if I screw up, so I'm just porting out. I'm out of here. Like that would drive me crazy, having to do that. So I had never pushed before, and then you find this build that one is either really easy to play or I just figured it out like really easy. It was really easy for me to play, and I took off, and it was great. And that gave me an extra, 2-3 weeks on the season that I don't normally have. So when you wrap all that, into the ball, that's kind of my Season 10 in a jar.
In a jar jar. A jar jar jar.
And in a jar jar. With the jar jar.
Oh man, but that kind of reminds me, I think Nine, you were talking about this maybe last episode or 2 episodes ago, but the whole idea of, there are all these builds out there that get kind of swept under the rug or just not as much shine because everyone tunnels towards, what's rank 1, what's rank 2, what's rank 3. Oh, that's what they're pushing with. I'm going to copy that verbatim. And, maybe Shadows is the one that's kind of under the radar back before it got that crazy Quiver update. Could have been good, but no one's going to use it because everyone sees, Lawn Fan of Knives or Marauders up there. And, maybe this build Lionsword's talking about, I know Innis has been getting buffs repeatedly for the last couple of patches, but could have been valid last season or something, but, just never got this shine because everyone's like, oh, Raymond's the best, and I can also do, like, Lawn LTK, so.
Yeah, I mean, nothing really changed with Innis. I think they buffed it from 100% for each ally to 125 this patch. So, I mean, it got 25% is a good number, but I think this build would have worked in previous seasons.
It just goes to show, the people that are willing to kind of either elongate their season by stepping out of the norm or just mess around, sometimes you do find something that it's really pleasing. And there's a lot to be said for playing a build that you actually enjoy, keeping you in the season for longer, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things is just, you know, there's... like, imagine if Natalia's was, like, the best, like, pushing build for Demon Hunters. Yeah,
it's hard to imagine, but I'm with you.
Yeah, and it's just, like, because that one is not exactly... I did not find it a very fun play style. And it also kills your fingers. More so than this, like, game already does, but it's... You know, there's definitely some, like you said, there's something to be said for something that you enjoy playing, as opposed to just what's the best. And, again, you know, like love information. There's so many builds out there that you just you don't see represented, because, like, the person that pushed the highest on it has a higher push with a different build. You know, and it only ranks whatever your highest clear is. And so, like, the one person that's trying to go through and only do that set can't get the same Paragon levels or the same level gems as someone that's trying out something different. So you see, like, you might see, you know, like, the highest clear for, like, a Marauders build, you know, much lower than what it's actually fully capable of doing. Because no one just... You know, after you get above, you know, like, say, like, Greater Rift 85 or 90, no one just bothers, you know, playing it, let alone see what it could do. Just because it's, you know, there's better sets that are out there, that they're not that much better, you know, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does, especially under the guise of a time limit, right? Like, seasons don't last forever, so to some degree, if you're trying to make headway, you weigh the opportunity of how much do I push my head against the wall, like Lionsword was saying, you know, rift after rift failing, especially when the rate of failure is going to be a lot higher with something that's technically subpar or just doesn't as easily clear what you could be clearing in, you know, the flavor of the season. It kind of forces your hand to not be as creative, because if that's what you really care about, those high ranks, then you kind of have to conform. It's a weird thing to get into, because even though you could say, well, non-seasons are kind of, you know, their own non-temporal thing, and to some degree, like, eras last for a certain amount of time, so maybe there's a counter argument there. But again, the biggest key I would say there is, like you mentioned, the leaderboards don't quite give you all the info that you could get. Once you get that high clear with whatever set, you never see all those other, you know, experimental things where people are maybe doing like an 85 or a 90 with a Nats, but because they went and already did their 100 with a long FOK, you'll never see it.
And there's some, I mean, I would really like to see Blizzard put in some sort of leaderboard for each individual build. I know you guys have talked about that, you know, ad nauseum, but that would be something that would be really, really cool. Because I would like to be able to see, well, I pushed, you know, this 7-sided strike build up to 85, but, you know, somebody else pushed, you know, this up to 87, but I don't see that because they pushed Rainman up to 95. And, you know, so I never see what they did with this build. So I think that would give just a different layer of competition within, you know, as you say, I want to specialize in this specific build and only compete with people against this build, because if you don't do that, you're really comparing apples and oranges, because the play styles could be completely different based on the different builds. And if somebody just has a better ability at a specific type of build, they're going to be more successful with that type of build. You know, maybe they suck at, you know, Unhallowed Essence because they just can't keep moving. And with Unhallowed Essence, it seems like you can't ever stop.
Right.
If you stop, you die.
Yeah. And
like
and
Speed.
maybe and you can't if you don't have the ability to use that playstyle, or you just genuinely don't enjoy that playstyle, you need to find something that's like a little slower, a little bit more durable, or maybe you're playing the wrong class. But you won't ever know that because you're playing this other build that's maybe a little bit tankier that you don't really enjoy, but you think you like the class. But just, and there's you can go 1,000 different ways with it. But that would be something that would be really interesting to me, is seeing separated out by builds. on the
Yeah.
leaderboards. I mean, that would give an extra level of saying, hey, I'm the best. You know, I was a top 150 monk in the season, but I was a top 10 at this specific build. Yeah.
Like, I almost think about it like boxing in a way. Like, imagine being able to like unify all the belts of the monk. Like, I am the best Inna's monk. I'm the best Uliana monk. Like, it was so cool to say, like, I have full mastery of this class across all these sets that are tracked on these different boards.
And that would be really cool. Like, if you had the ability to be awesome at every build that a class has, that would be, like, awesome if you had that ability.
To not to sidetrack the sidetrack, but probably want to get moving along since we do still have some more to go.
Was that my weekend? Was that
that was still your weekend gaming?
Sick week, man. Sick week.
It was really good. Really good.
All right. Yeah. So good stuff, Nine. How about your weekend?
I was just gonna say though, Lion. Was there anything else that you wanted to mention or wrap up before we continue on?
I think I'm good. Thank you.
No worries, no worries. So Leviathan, do you want to save the best for last?
So that means I should go now?
I was gonna make the joke, but no. Since you have far more interesting stuff to talk about, I'll go ahead and wrap up mine real quick. So yeah, it's been really rainy, and I don't think that I think just something has gone wrong with the internet in my area, and so I've been having really crappy connection issues. So I've been kind of keeping the Diablo play to a minimum. I did play a bunch of Heroes with the launch of the new Heroes of the Storm event last week. We'll talk about that a little bit more in the episode proper. But I did actually finish up all of my, well, almost all of my season goals. I just finished, I just finished Guardian, like, maybe an hour and a half before the show. 2 hours before the show. Just to go and get all of that finished. Last night, I was trying to go and farm for my Witch Doctor to get one of the set conquests done. And it was literally every rift that I ran, I had a lag issue and my heart stopped. And so it just got to the point where it's like, I can't risk it. I'll try again. It was like the first day of like decent weather that we have had with no rain or anything like that, but still managed to go through, get in there today and just eke in like that last conquest for getting Guardian. So I've got that done. I got that finished, and yeah, just really looking forward to the Necromancer coming next week. And I guess the one I did say that I had a World of Warcraft story, and this will also go and kind of tie into the Necromancer discussions that we're going to be having later. But today was the first day that I actually logged into World of Warcraft in a couple of months now. Just so that way I could go and buy a WoW token with gold to then cash it in for 15 Blizzard bucks, so that now I could buy the Necromancer using World of Warcraft gold. So I'm actually making my WoW subscription, worth something.
Well played.
Yep. And yeah, that is it for me. I will pass the torch on to you, good sir.
All right, I'll speed run through this because I do have a lot, but we also want to move on to more exciting topics. So yeah, weeks in gaming has been very exciting for us because, again, we managed to somehow keep the group together for the entirety of the season. A daunting feat that I've always said, like, if you could do it, it would make for the best season possible. We somehow managed it with some road bumps along the way with deaths and whatnot. But yeah, so we had the 4-man, like I've been mentioning, with Viper, myself, Nolan's Minion, and Lala. And it was the straight meta, like me on the DH, Viper on the Witch Doctor, Minion on the ZDPS Monk, and then Lala on her ZDPS Barb. And we were pushing last Sunday for our highest 4 players that we could get. We got up to a 106, like, fairly easily. and that's the highest any of us had ever been, so it's really cool. And then we just hit the wall on 107. I don't know why or like what it was, but we just got cursed by something and could not get a good map, or if we got the good map, couldn't get the good mobs. If we got the good mobs, couldn't get the right pylons. So it was truly that feeling of this is what it's like to grind and keep doing the same thing, expecting different results.
Yep.
So it kind of felt like madness in a way. But, you know, we ran out of time, unfortunately, because we can only do the 4-man on the weekend when Viper's available. But we're still really, really happy with the progress that we made. And, like, everyone's already getting hyped for Season 11, which is really exciting to see, because I figured we'd all kind of burn out on stuff by this point. But I think everyone wants to hit it even harder next season. So exciting times there.
And you got some time to cool down.
Yes. Yeah, I guess we'll just do a little tease mention, because we are talking around it. Season 10 does end this Friday. We got that news. Pretty much the Friday after we did the last episode. So it's ending on the 23rd, which is this coming Friday of June. And that means there is legit about 2 days-ish left to push. So that's why everyone's trying to get their last, high grid rift clears done. That's why I'm like, hey, Nine, can we speed the show along tonight? And then we did like a 30-minute diatribe on sets and stuff. But
No, sorry, that was my fault.
I'm right there with you, though.
Never coming back to the show.
Ruiner. Oh man, but yeah, so it's crazy, and this is something that I dislike and like at the same time, because I've always said, like, I hate pushing, like I don't enjoy that whole like get in there and just try and fail. But when you get it, that's the most rewarding feeling potentially in the world, at least for the world that consists of Diablo. So I was pushing.
Would you say the world of Diablo?
Did I say that? I didn't say that. Who? What? MMO Diablo? No.
Spoilers.
All right. Moving along. You didn't hear that. Yeah, so pushing for a Greater Rift 98, which was the highest Greater Rift that someone had done on the Americas with a UE grenades. We were talking about that last episode. So I figured I would just try and match it. Maybe I get a faster time, maybe I don't, but then at least I would be within shooting range of trying to usurp that spot, going for a 99. Finally got the 98 yesterday after maybe like burning 70 keys over Monday and Tuesday. So that was really exciting. Got Stone Singer, and honestly was just like so frazzled at getting a rift that was going to work out that I didn't even play the boss right, because I could have gotten a faster time, and mine was slower than the number one by 12 seconds. So it just like pains me, because if I don't get this 99, it's like I could have maybe gotten it on a faster 98, but so be it. That's pretty much it, honestly. I'll skip the rest of the stuff in there. There's a lot still going on with our 2-mans right now. Lala's kicking butt on her wizard, but there's a lot of excitement crammed into these last few days. The last week of the season is really great if you can stick around and make it to it.
It really is. I personally didn't ever participate, but I enjoy following the different streamers that I watch at the last part of the season, because you get the adrenaline. You can just feel the adrenaline in everybody, like, heighten, and you can see everybody's playing just a little harder and taking it just a little bit more serious, and there's excitement in it. It makes the watching the previous 6 weeks of just endless GR grinding over and over and over and over and over and over and over again.
It's do or die time.
Yeah,
Literally.
Yeah, yeah. When you're playing hardcore, quite literally. Because it's one thing to go through and just like farm stuff that's easy. It's kind of like a quote unquote easy. That's more of a safe zone, versus actually seeing how far that you can push yourself until something breaks.
Yeah, I know. I'm certainly playing through a lot more procs and trying to be a little riskier, because you only have so many more attempts before it's all over.
Yep. This is the time to push those procs, because if you don't, then, well, you might not make it.
That's right. Do or die. So yeah, hopefully we'll have some good news to report back with next show. Fingers are crossed.
Well, that's all really good. Definitely wish Nolan, Viper, and Lala the best in all of that. Though I guess Viper really can only play the weekends.
Well, for he's doing his solo stuff in the mornings.
Gotcha.
I believe he's sitting at like rank. So what's kind of crazy too is everyone's doing like amazingly. I think almost everyone is in like the top 10 right now in their respective class.
Yeah, it was. What rank did Lala get?
Oh, 9.
9. Sorry, had to. Absolutely had to. But with that, is there any last things before we actually start moving on to the news topics that anybody would like to add? Anything?
Let's do it.
Anything? No?
Let's go.
All right. So, this is pretty much just like the episode of announcements that we never thought that we would be talking about on this particular episode. And as big of a surprise as the Necromancer date and pricing announcement this soon was, I think the one that really takes the cake was there are more BlizzCon tickets that are going on sale. Like, I was not expecting that. That was a new one.
Let that sink in for a moment.
Yes.
More BlizzCon tickets.
Yep. And so that is if you missed out on your prior chances to go through and try and grab BlizzCon tickets. And that is now not wanting to work. Come on. Nope. Okay. I had it set up before. It doesn't want to work now. Okay, I did have the web capture up, but we'll move on. That's all of a sudden decided not to want to work with me. Yeah, we've got July 5th, another batch of BlizzCon tickets is going to be going on sale at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Pacific Daylight Time. I don't remember what it is.
7 on the West Coast.
Yeah, 7 on the West Coast. There you go. It's 7 in California, 7 in Blizzard time. We'll do that one.
There you go.
Yep. So, and the reason why they're going through and they're having these new tickets available for purchase is because there is an expansion at the Anaheim Convention Center, which if you attended BlizzCon last year, you saw that they had kind of gutted what used to be the parking lot and were building a brand new extension above it. And so this is something that will be connected kind of like through a walkway from the second floor of the convention center over to where the parking lot is. And then they now have like a whole new, I think it's like 100,000 square foot convention floor that you can use, in addition to a couple other side rooms and such. In that new expansion. And it's actually opening up officially, I believe, in 3 months. And the reason why Blizzard was holding off on this announcement of having these additional tickets is because they weren't sure if it was 100% going to be ready in time for BlizzCon. Because even, 3 months down the road, it going and opening, towards the end of September is still cutting a little bit close. Should things not go well with permits and safety inspections and such, they only have like that month of wiggle room for everything to go well. And I remember at one of my previous jobs going through and working at a theater, our opening was delayed by more than a month because of permit issues. But yeah, it looks like they're very, they are assured that it will be all set up and ready to go, and we're going to see a brand new convention floor space coming for this year's BlizzCon. And the big question is, what are they going to do with the space?
Yeah, that's kind of the next, procedural thing to do is, okay, they're opening up more space, but why? What happens with this space? And I think some of the going theories are that, bigger esports, more esports, they keep making these arenas grander and grander, so maybe this gives them even more space to expand it. We have our own mission here, which is just turn the entire thing into the Slaughtered Cafe and bring that back, 10 times fold what it was previously.
We want them to actually, like, fully recreate an inn for us to go and hang out, drink at, and maybe even get a room.
Whoa, trying to get a room?
Ooh. But
that would save money, with the hotel prices.
It's really low rates because it's just not all that comfortable.
It's some hay on the ground, and that's about it.
Yeah, but no one really knows.
Yeah, I know because that was like one of the big things that we were thinking last year, while we were we would constantly walk by the construction is, you know, this could be like a new, like you just mentioned, an esports hall where they put a lot of the big competitions, like the show floor for the competitions and the stages over in this new area, because it's huge. It's, I believe it's bigger than any of the other convention hall or any of the halls in the convention center proper. So it'll be a lot of room and opportunity to put something in there. But also, this is the first year where we're getting a world final that's not at BlizzCon, because the Hearthstone Global Championship will be before BlizzCon. And
right. So it's weird that they have such a clear, big focus on esports, but then, you know, one of their potentially most popular esports, at least most popular games, I would say, because, you know, Hearthstone's everywhere. It's weird that that won't be exhibited at BlizzCon, especially with them opening up this space.
Yeah. Yeah, but that, I guess that does also kind of like call into question, you know, it's like, is it something that they could have maintained anyways? As each of these individual esports gets bigger and bigger and bigger, like a lot of people who are Blizzard fans follow them all simultaneously, and then you're asking someone to watch the StarCraft, Hearthstone, you know, Heroes of the Storm, and then now like the Overwatch finals at the same time. Oh, and WoW Arena, if you watch that. I don't. Sorry, it's a thing.
Do they still do that?
It is a thing. They still do that. Sorry. Yeah,
that's probably not a good Blizzard thing to say, but WoW PvP. Never mind.
Yeah,
but from an esports perspective, I think Overwatch is gaining a lot of traction, especially with their the news around the Overwatch League coming out. I mean, that's what I would expect to hear. And the new hall would be all about the Overwatch League.
Oh yeah, it definitely could be. I could see them, you know, and also the other big thing is if they push a lot of these esports stages over there, that frees up more convention space for more panels. So that way they could have more panels running simultaneously. Which I guess, since at first it would be like, if you're actually there at the convention center, oh, it could really suck because you could have multiple panels going on at the same time. Before I really got, like, you know, super deep into Diablo, you know, it's like I'd watch the Diablo panel and then a World of Warcraft panel and then like a StarCraft 2 panel, and then we started having, like, you know, Heroes of the Storm stuff and Overwatch and all these other things, and you start getting pulled in a lot of different directions. But now that every a BlizzCon ticket also includes the virtual ticket, it doesn't even really matter so much, because you have plenty of time once you get back to the hotel room to go and like rewatch a panel that you missed, or even after the convention itself, you still have a couple weeks that you can always pull back up the VODs to rewatch any panels. And so this just gives them more you know, overall floor time to put out more panels. And now they might have a bit more freedom with going through and saying, you know, well, we don't have as much in development for Diablo, so we really have to like focus in on what we want to do, because we have limited time slots for the panel stages. But if we open up 1 or 2 extra stages to go and do these panels, you know, well, we can have a bit more freedom. We can go through and get, you know, more fluffier, you know, panels or something like that. We could have a, you know, something that they go and they talk about like storyboards or, you know, art and things of that nature, that they don't have to focus, because that's the BlizzCon, or the Diablo BlizzCon panels the last few years have just been straight cut focus. Like, here's our new features, here's some of the stuff that we're working on, but we haven't really had anything. Well, let's talk a little bit more about like voice acting, or, you know, like narrative techniques, or this is like the techniques that we use for art, you know, and things that they have for like World of Warcraft and some of the other ones that get have a bigger stage presence.
Right. I mean, that definitely is a valid case. I even think you could see expanded demo areas as well too. Maybe cut down on those lines and those waits. So, you know, if everyone wants to play Overwatch because they announce, I don't know, some crazy new character or something, you know, maybe they have 200 machines instead of 150 that they had last year, and you get through that a little bit quicker. Yeah, it definitely allows for some more flexibility, like you're saying. I think that's kind of the key here.
Yeah, just, you know, there's more things that they can do, and it's because we all get the VOD. You know, it's okay if things are scheduled at the same time that you might want to watch, because you'll be able to go through and just catch it later.
Definitely agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's one to keep an eye on. It's going to these extra tickets are going to be smack dab in the middle of our next episode, so we'll give you a reminder.
Yeah. As is, it seems like every year, you know, the first round of tickets always goes on in the middle of one of our episodes, and so not terribly surprising.
Tradition.
And so moving on to our next topic, we have, of course, as you mentioned earlier, we've got Season 10 ending Friday, June 23rd at 5 p.m. Blizzard time, Pacific. So this is it, people. You know, so I guess this is more for the people that are going through and watching us live. Not sure when we'll get the episode up for the YouTube and the iTunes, but yeah, Season 10, the ending is here. This also answers our question that, I guess, more specifically your question that you brought up last episode about which direction will Blizzard go? Yeah, will they extend it out or will they end it soon?
And then they ended it.
And then they ended it. And then, of course, you know, then when that question was proposed, the expectation was, well, it still will be like another month before we get the Necromancer anyways. And then we're wrong.
Yeah, so about that. Yeah, it's weird because we were
so wrong.
So it feels so good to be so wrong, though.
Right?
We were thinking, yeah, okay, if they go for the 3-month season, then, you know, we get that downtime, and maybe it'll be a longer downtime. We'll like finish up the Necro, and when that comes out, then the next season will come out. But it just turned out that not only are they going to end the season within that 3-month time frame, but then the Necromancer's coming out pretty much a few days later, on the 27th.
Yep.
Ta-da.
I finally got the web capture working. There we go.
Nice. Here you go.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to go through and just hit all those things up like in one go.
Might as well. Just give you all the dates, all the things. So yes, Season 10, like we said, ending. Get your pushes in, get your stuff, get your pre-stash migration ready, I suppose. That's this Friday, 5 Pacific. And then Season 11, this is crazy. This is in the same post and kind of controversial perhaps, but that's starting on July 20th. And we were like, whoa, that's a lot of time between seasons. And not only is that a lot of time between seasons, but it's also a Thursday, which is a little unprecedented, but you can see that note on the screen there right in front of you where it says Season 11 will begin on a Thursday to ensure that, and then you took it away from me.
Right there. Right there. And it broke again.
That's right, I got it. To ensure that there's
adequate
time. Jesus, take the wheel.
Apparently. I don't know. OBS has a mind of its own now.
Oh god. Okay, Season 11, it's on a Thursday to start to ensure that there's adequate time to respond to potential issues with seasons before the weekend begins. And now, mind you, this came out before we knew anything about the Necromancer, but it was kind of essentially hinting. I was watching the screen.
I'm glad that you noticed.
Oh,
I did it for you.
Thank you. May I have another? Oh my god. But yeah, so we got this news before we knew any details or concrete evidence on when the Necro would be coming out. But this kind of put the writing on the wall that, okay, they're doing a weird start to Season 11, and there's this gap between Season 10 and Season 11. The Necro's coming out somewhere between that time frame. And obviously, they're doing this with Season 11 to make sure that when everyone and their mom plays the Necro that Thursday, hopefully everything doesn't break, and they'll have people in the office on Friday in case it does break. Then you and I and pretty much the rest of the Diablo community were starting to speculate, okay, well, you know, we're probably looking at Tuesdays here. So let's see, which Tuesdays do we have? We have the 27th, we have July 4th, okay, probably not going to come out then. We have July 11th, and then we have July 18th. And a lot of us, I feel like we're kind of thinking July 11th, maybe the 5th as a weird, like, you know, push it over one day to the Wednesday.
Which is not unprecedented.
Right.
They did that with the holiday that was on a Monday. They patched on a Wednesday before.
That's right. So it could have occurred, but not even. earlier than all of that.
Mm-hmm.
The probably least favored or least guessed date that was out there was the 27th of June. And we've been all joking that Blizzard managed to break their promise by delivering this before the second half of 2017.
Yes. We're still in the first half, damn it. You lied to me.
They just can't. They can't get that out of their own way. They just lie all the time. They're just a bunch of dirty liars.
That's all that it is. That's exactly what it is.
Just like the cake.
Yep.
It is a lie.
Yep. But that is definitely that it. You know, I guess. You know, it's like I'll give them the pass on this one. You know. And it's still, and it goes back to not wanting to work again. There we go. There we go. Okay.
Well,
yeah.
This black screen stream is super fantastic.
It's you know, using the latest technology. We've got it here. June 27th. Necromancer is being released, and oh boy, are we excited?
It's hype. And I think a lot of people are kind of curious to see. Well, first of all, a lot of people are curious about the price, and we should let you know that that was also revealed within this post. That is $14.99 USD, US dollars. Mm-hmm. So you can, there's, I think, actually a conversion tool or a tool that you can use on that same announcement that shows you what it will be in your region. But that's, I think, pretty fair. A lot of people were. I think Lionsword, you had like a great tweet. You're like, I was hoping for $9.99. I would have been okay with, what was it, like $19.99, but then $14.99 is the fair middle ground.
Right, like so I wanted it to be $10 because I hate DLC. I despise DLC in every form and fashion. I hate microtransactions. When I buy a game, I want the game. I don't want half a game. But so I was hoping to be like $10 because that's relatively cheap. I was really hoping that it wasn't like $20 or more, because not only would I have to spend $20 or more to play the Necromancer, as if I wouldn't spend it, right? And then I'd have to listen to all my friends complain about how Blizzard they're all just, you know, corporate, greedy, yada yada. I feel like 15 is the right compromise. Like I feel like that's kind of the right number. Like, so I wanted it to be 10. I didn't want it to be 20. So it ended up coming in kind of at the right number.
Yeah. 15 was one of the prices that I was throwing out. Was my expectation for like the longest time. It just, you know, I felt that $20 would be like the absolute higher limit, you know, for what people would probably be willing to spend on, you know, something of this nature. It is, of course, more than just the class, but the biggest thing is, you know, the class. And like $10 was the lower limit because, well, you can buy a hero in Heroes of the Storm for $10, and they put a lot more development resources into the Necromancer than that. And $15 just kind of felt right for like the amount of content that you'd be getting from it. It was a price that most people, you know, could easily stomach.
If you, I know that nobody that listens to this podcast ever goes to the general forums, because nobody would ever do that, because that's like the most wretched hive of scum and villainy. But if you read the forums, how many people have been like clamoring, say, just let us purchase extra stash tabs? I mean, how many non-seasonal players have been like begging for stash tabs? Now you get to pay for stash tabs. Like, even if you don't want to play the Necromancer class, you can spend $15 for 2 extra stash tabs, and now you've got it.
Yep. Yeah, the complaints persist. It's so weird because it almost feels like a dichotomy of if you're on, and maybe it's just like a self-serving sort of like the people that follow you or the people that are aligned with your sort of mode of thinking. But, you know, on Twitter, I'm seeing everyone being like, oh man, like this is awesome, feels like the right price, like I'm glad, really excited it's coming out. And you go to like Reddit or you go to, like you said, general forums, and it's just more of that, like, Blizzard is damned if they do, damned if they don't. They could have made it $5, and someone somewhere would have been like, "Oh, it should have been $1. Should have been free."
Yeah,
they should have paid me.
The one thing that I have noticed, you know, of course, you do see that a lot, but one thing that I have noticed when going through and checking some of those various places where people have been leaving like the feedback, a lot of the initial reaction was like, "Oh, I'm not going to pay that much for this class or whatever," and that seems to just be like the trolls coming out and wanting to go through and jump on it, because it seems as if the people that, for whatever reason, just seem to hate Diablo are always the first to comment on everything. Like, they're just sitting there waiting for like new announcements or posts to come out, just so that way they can express negativity. But then all the subsequent comments of like the people that actually, you know, like seem to enjoy playing the game or looking for information and not just trying to troll, are then going through and saying, oh, well, $15 is like the perfect price. Like, you know, from my story earlier, if you can dump, I think at the price that I paid for it was like 126,000 gold in World of Warcraft and buy a Necro. You know, so if it's like, if I've had Diablo 3 sitting there for a while and I've been playing another game like World of Warcraft or what have you, well, I can easily just go and, you know, drop some WoW gold to buy a token and get $15 and get the Necromancer essentially for free. You know, and anyone that plays Heroes of the Storm or Overwatch, I mean, like $15 is like a drop in the bucket compared to what you'd pay for loot boxes, hero skins, and other things like that. It's just, it's really, you know, it's not a lot of money. You know,
right.
It's and just like Lion, you were going through and mentioning earlier, like for how long have people been saying, oh, I would pay like $10 for a stash tab. You know, now you get two for 15. Yeah. Oh, and you get a class. You know, you get a Necromancer alongside it. So
bonus,
you know, bonus. You know, it's just you know, it's. I think you said it best. Blizzard's damned if they do, damned if they don't. But I do feel that there's a lot more positivity that's been coming out of this announcement. It's cutting through a lot of the vitriol and the regular no kitty, the regular Diablo trolls that like to come out and just kind of, well, you're not allowed to have fun.
Yeah,
you know.
I feel you on that. There's definitely, I think it's easier to hear those voices because they tend to be the loudest, even if it's a minority or vocal minority, etc. Like we always mention.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, it is what it is. They'll say what they'll say, but at the end of the day, we get to enjoy the Necromancer sooner than later, which is super exciting. I actually wanted to take one question from chat that I saw. Spartake was asking why is the Necromancer releasing on June 27th, but then the season itself isn't starting until July 20th. And kind of the running idea or thought is that this next month essentially will almost operate like a, you know, major public beta, quote unquote. I mean, obviously it's live release, but to some degree they want the character out there in the wild now for real. It has to be real at some point, right? And they're not going to get every kink out, every bug out. So before they commit to a season where we know that they have learned the lesson of not tinkering within a season, they want to make sure they can hit as many of those, you know, sour notes or things that might break balance or the classes and things like that, with the Necro being so proliferated as we're thinking it will. If they can hit some of those, you know, adjustments or numbers or especially game-breaking bugs, because when you have a closed beta, there are only so many people that are going to find so many things. When you open it up to, you know, hundreds of thousands of people, they'll find a lot more things. So I guess that's at least that's my going theory. I don't know if you have alternate theories or agree, disagree.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% behind you on that. They're never going to find all the bugs, you know, like in a PTR, and then of course in a closed beta even less so. There wasn't a lot of people that were like trying to go through and push with 4-man groups or 2-man groups and such with the Necromancer to try and develop like a group meta and such. And so this is going to give people like more time to actually get in there and really, you know, figure out the Necro at the higher end, and then allow Blizzard to go through and make adjustments and changes from there. As I feel what this is really going to be. You know, it's not quite so much testing, but more of a tweaking. You know, what do we need to give them, you know, more damage reduction, or do we have to increase how long this particular buff lasts? You know, so that way it feels a bit more cohesive within the build.
Yeah, and I think you're actually looking at an instance where player mentality almost gets in the way of forwarding the development, if you will, because if you're in the sort of beta environment, you're anticipating that, you know, next week this is going to change, the week after that this whole thing could change, or it could revert or something like that. So it's always in this sort of state of flux. When the game comes out, you imagine, yes, we're talking about it right now, that they probably will make tweaks here and there. Oh, kitty.
She's currently she's currently trying to draw blood from my foot. So
that sounds like her MO.
it definitely is.
But yeah, so I think with the idea of there being mostly just tweaks here, it allows players to sort of get into the mentality of I can commit to a build, right? Like I can go and say, all right, blood set's not going to drastically change, I don't imagine. So let me pour all my blood shards into figuring out exactly how this thing is going to work, how I can push it to its highest limit, and maybe then from there they'll tinker or whatever. But you won't feel bad about, you know, taking your entire non-seasonal crafting mats or whatever, pouring it into some, you know, version of the Necro you think is going to work, and then, oh, by the way, we're scrapping that, you know, whole concept of a build or something.
Yeah. And I actually, one thing that I hadn't really quite thought of, but that Nevik brought up in chat is kind of like the psychological aspect behind it. It'll allow people to go through and play the Necromancer, see if they actually enjoy it. Maybe people are going to hop onto it just to play it and get it out of their system before the season starts. Because if they were to yeah, and that's one thing that I hadn't really thought of. If they release the Necromancer like the week before or the week of season 11, it's going to be people's like first opportunity to play it, and so they're going to start the season playing the Necromancer, go through, burn their Hadric's Gift on it, and then maybe realize, you know, this isn't really the class for me. It wasn't what I was expecting. I had some fun with it, but it's, you know, it's just not, it's not my Crusader. I'm going to go back to playing, you know, something I'm a bit more comfortable with, and I'll table this one for now. But now I'm restarting the season over with nothing. I already used my gift on the Necromancer. It'll give people, you know, some time to see whether they like it or not.
All right, yeah, avoids a regretful error, a regretful feeling. That's, yeah, definitely a smart catch. Nice one, Nevik. So yeah, so I guess the question from here is, what are you guys gonna do? Are you gonna play your Necromancers through story mode? I see a lot of people in chat kind of saying they're gonna take it nice and slow. Nevik was saying that he's gonna open it up in campaign.
Oh yeah.
Some people I know are just gonna, like, you know, power level Gem of These, or get their friends all together and power level it up and just, you know, spend all your crafting mats. Like, what's the road you guys plan to take?
Lionsword, you want to take that one first?
Sure. Is my mic on? Okay, good.
Yep, you're good. You're good. Still here.
I don't plan to play the Necromancer a lot. I want to play the Necromancer in Season 11, so I'm not going to do a ton of Necro playing when it comes out. You know, I'll mess around with it. I'm sure I'll level 1 to 70, and I'll try to practice, you know, work on the build that I put together in beta, and just make sure that it still works without any tweaks. But I won't play. Like, I'm looking forward to watching Neinball stream the campaign. I think that's going to be fantastic, but I don't see myself playing through the campaign again. I don't ever want to play through the campaign again. No offense to the campaign. When I played through it the first time, I thought it was great, and I really enjoyed it. But, like, the 70th time playing through the campaign, I'm like, I'm good.
You didn't like Inferno?
Didn't like the bees?
We want. Oh, don't even get me started on the bees. And yeah, Wes in Inferno in Vanilla Diablo 3 was not pretty. That was actually very ugly. If you think I'm bad at the game now, you should have seen me then. Hoo boy. So yeah, I'll take the month to kind of chill from Diablo and play some of the other things that have been building up. You know, Final Fantasy 12 remake is coming out. The Final Fantasy 14 expansion just launched. You know, I have a Nintendo Switch with a shiny Zelda game in it. So, you know, I will spend time doing that, and I'll mess around with the Necro a little bit, but mostly I'm going to just take a break so that when Season 11 hits, I can go Necro bonkers and really just go balls to the wall Necro.
Good.
This is smart.
Yeah. Giving yourself some time to relax and not get just play the Necromancer for like a month straight, kind of get burnt out on it, and then be like, oh, okay, the season's here. It's time to spend 3 more months on this. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, smart approach to not go too ham too soon.
Neinball, will you be streaming the campaign?
Yeah, as you pretty much already stole my thunder there. Yeah, my plan is that once the Necromancer releases, depending upon what my work schedule is for next week, maybe start things up a little bit early, and then kind of slow roll it, playing the Necromancer through the campaign and streaming it the whole way through. Taking some time to just talk to different people to just get as much dialogue as I possibly can, get to learn a little bit more about this particular Necromancer, their character, their motivations and such, and have some fun with it. I'm really, because I on the beta, I purposely did not play through the Necromancer campaign so that way I wouldn't have any of it spoiled, and just so that way I can see everything like firsthand, because there are some things that I'm really excited to like go through and find, and it'll take a while. But who is it that the Necromancer talks to in Pandemonium Fortress?
Yeah.
It's like
everyone has their master, or
yeah, it's going to be some interesting things. We might learn. It could very well be a new character, as is what was most of stop. What was most of the Diablo 3 characters. The people that they go through and talk to. Shh, don't say that. But it's like we could see some other famous Necromancer from prior lore get thrown in there. We'll have to wait and see. I can't wait to go through and give it a go.
One thing I'll probably do with my time with Diablo is I'll go through and do the lore in the new zones. That's not necessarily necro related, but I will go through and start as soon as you zone in, you start the quest and learn, find the books and learn about what's going on in the two different zones. Because once the season comes out, I'm not going to want to like spend some time like doing lore. I'm going to be powering, trying to get through the season and start the seasonal journey.
Right.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that, because there's going to be a website that's going to be releasing a lore article about one of the new zones sometime soon. I wonder who could have done that.
Huh. Spoilers.
Spoilers. And for those that actually, that didn't get into the beta or haven't seen anything about it, the lore behind like two of the new zones, the Shrouded Moors and the Temple of the Firstborn, is actually really interesting. And the thing that, without any actual spoilers, the thing that I like the best is it actually pushes the story of Diablo 3 forward. It takes place, the lore within those zones takes place after the events of Reaper of Souls. Unlike Grey Hollow Island, which is like its own separate, self-contained story that really doesn't have anything to do with the main storyline, right. These two new zones do.
Very exciting.
It's kind of a big deal for for the lore nerds that read books and read quest text and all that stuff. Especially when I saw that one of the places was going to be Temple of the Firstborn, I knew there was going to be some legit story in there somewhere.
Yeah.
It only makes sense. I will listen to you guys talk about the lore. That'd be great. I'm not even going to sit here and try to lie to you that I will do any of that. I don't know. My mix of things, because, for me, I love the challenges of stuff, right? So I think what I want to do, I'm gonna take you to this weekend. This weekend, I'm gonna, do my stash rollover. I'm gonna hop on my Witch Doctor and start getting some intelligence stuff kind of prepped and ready. Just generic things that I could potentially use on a Necromancer. And then when it comes out, just really power level it myself, of course, because you know how I feel about that. Get that up to 70, and then probably either stay on like the Witch Doctor and just funnel blood shards and int gear and stuff, but just try to get it really equipped and geared out and mess around with a couple of like Theorycraft specs. I really want my speed specs, so I got to figure that out first.
Yeah, because sorry for cutting you off there, but that's one of the big things like with the Necromancer is that even throughout the entire beta, there aren't really like concrete builds that have like come out of it. Diablo fans did like release like the build editor for the Necromancer, and some people have been going through and messing around with it, and going through and throwing out some stuff. But there's There's not a lot of like big things. There's a couple of ones that got like really highly ranked because they were like broken and allowed you to be just like invincible all the time. But yeah, it's a lot of the stuff people didn't really push or like get proper gear for, and so there's a lot to be discovered.
And that is
in the coming
so
weeks.
exciting. Yes, yes. I cannot wait. So that will be a lot of my time spent, because I am still contemplating exactly what my plan will be for Season 11. Kind of in the same boat as Lionsword. Like, I don't want to go too ham on Necro if I'm going to go Necro for S11, but I need to get an idea of like where its power level lies, and especially like Nine, you were saying, more of the group implications, because we want to do the group stuff again. And if Necro is going to be like, you know, Crusader status where, hi, oh, you're a Crusader.
Yeah, it's like, hi, I exist.
I'm sorry, our group's full. Oh, too bad. Go play with yourself.
Oh, did you say that you have a Witch Doctor that you could play?
I do, actually. Surprisingly.
That's fantastic.
I know, right? It's weird. It's got really old Helltooth gear, but it'll work. It'll work. So I'm just planning to really boost that up, get some speed stuff going, get builds going in general, and then shoot, I forgot my other point. Oh, what I want to do is once I have it in a really like strong place, and if I have like a build that kind of works, I want to do a T13 run through of the campaign.
Oh, make it like super challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
maybe super challenging.
Yeah,
depends
depending on how good or
is.
bad the build is.
Yeah.
It could be
Yeah.
really challenging. Are you gonna do that hardcore or softcore?
Oh, hardcore all the way. That's where all the mats are.
That would actually, that sounds like something fun. Like power level up a Necromancer, get a whole bunch, get like a full set of gear done, and then use the cube to level it all down to 1, and start just with, you know, like the Rathma set or something like that.
That's a lot of Gym of Eases.
We've got time.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, we got a month to just, you know, dick around with. So
Fun ways to kill time with 9-ball.
Yep. Now we're leveling our 12th Gym of Ease to 25.
That is going to be some exciting. You put that on stream, man. You're going to get so many viewers.
I know, right? As we go and we power run through, you know, GR35s. Yeah.
Oh boy. So yeah, the exciting times for sure. It's and yeah, I guess a lot of people again are kind of, I've seen kind of half and half of being excited just for the break after season 10 being so long, but then also people being like, oh, I loved season 10 so much, I want to jump right into season 11. So there's kind of people on both sides of that fence. But I definitely know I am on the side of I cannot wait to definitely feed into the hype that first couple of days for Necro, but then actually take some time to, I don't know, maybe like walk outside for a little bit, see the sun. It's summertime a little.
It's highly overrated.
It's really hot outside.
Damn it, guys, you're not selling this right. All right, I'll just stay inside in game.
Yeah, there we go.
Yep.
Okay. Idea shot down. But yeah, I also, I guess, wanted to branch in here because it kind of ties in. We're talking about like the next coming days, but also don't forget, like we talked about last episode, that the Heroes crossover promotion thing with Malthel entering the Nexus still exists, and that's going until the 26th of June, which is oddly enough right before
the day before the Necromancer. Yep.
Coincidence?
I think highly likely.
Well played. So yeah, you got you know, if you're trying to kill some time, maybe you're avoiding that stash rollover or whatever, just get those 15 games in with a friend, and we will be your friend if you want to. Just hop into the BlizzPro Discord, which we'll give you the deets on later on in the episode, and come and play some games. I have 1 game under my belt. I actually did sneak away to play a game yesterday, so I still have 14 more to go.
Yep, I was helping some friends the other night go through and do it, and we had science down, and we were getting like sub 5-minute games versus beginner AI. You just have to get the it makes it a lot easier when you have people that have already completed the quest to go through and help you, so you can play heroes such as like Sylvanas or Sergeant Hammer. But you get it done really quick, just going and, you know, blasting through some versus AI games.
Makes sense, yeah. That way you're not limited to just the Diablo cast.
Though I will say, Malthael is probably like my favorite hero in the game right now.
So you're playing a lot of them when you released.
He's a lot of fun. I really enjoy him. I'm not just saying that because, you know, like he's the Angel of Death and all that. Just his play style is a lot of fun. He doesn't have like a super ton of burst, but everything is percentage base. So you pretty much have like the same time to kill on any hero that you go up against. So whether you're, you know, a high HP hero like Diablo or, you know, a squishy one like Chromie. It's unfortunate in instances like Chromie, but you kind of kill them the same speed, regardless of who they are. And depending upon the person that you're playing against, if they're not really that familiar with how Malthael does, there's so many times where I've had people like us that play Stitches or Diablo that like come up and try to bully me because they just don't expect their health to melt away like it does. Because he just almost all of his attacks are just percentage based, so I don't care how much HP you have.
Very interesting. That's cool. I really like how their approach to this whole like MOBA thing, where they are just taking like these interesting concepts and applying them like, you know, to the max, if you will. Because you might see something like that in the League of Legends where, you know, they have percent scaling attacks, but it might just be one microcosm of a character's skill set. But it sounds like they literally just made that Malthael's thing, which is really cool because now you get to see what happens when we, you know, turn it up to 11. Very cool. And someone asking in chat, Jiminy Cricket, if you have to play Diablo characters for this this promotion, you do. If you want to get the wings, I guess we kind of skimmed over it. For those who probably are hearing this for the first time, potentially, if you missed last episode, you can get the Ghost Kerrigan wings as a crossover promotion. So you get that when patch 2.6 releases, hopefully next Tuesday. Should all line up with the Necromancer, unless there's some crazy snafu. To get those wings, you have to do 15 games with a friend in Heroes of the Storm on Diablo characters. Whoever's trying to earn the quest, you have to be on a Diablo character. So like Nine was saying, if someone has already earned it or they don't care, they can play whatever they want. But if you want the wings, you have to be on a Diablo character. And then you can do it in any different mode. Against AI is going to be your easiest way to go. Just do the easiest AI and roll over them. You can do quick match if you want, or Hero League, or all sorts of craziness. And that is pretty much it. And then you have on the screen right there, there's also another thing you can earn within Heroes, which is that Malthael's Steed?
It's Leoric Steed, which is like a reskin of the previous Malthael Steed that you were able to get way back with, what was it? I think that was that's going all the way back to like the launch of like the official launch of Heroes of the Storm. Like the first big event that they did was the Eternal Crusade, which was like a Diablo themed event, and that was when you could go through and get the Malthael's Charger.
That's right. Yeah. Yep. Wow. That seems like so long ago.
Yeah.
At this point, crazy. Time flies.
That it does. And so, yeah, it's pretty cool. You can go through and get those Rock and Kerrigan wings if you missed them with the Heart of the Swarm Collector's Edition. Which I have to check and see, because I think it might have ended in between our episodes. I know I tweeted about this. But you still can get the original Kerrigan wings for Diablo 3. Because they have the StarCraft 2 battle chest that you can buy. The digital, they have a digital deluxe edition for StarCraft 2, and yes, it is still on sale at the moment. Because it is kind of like the quote unquote collector's edition. It is still $50. It's on sale for $49 as opposed to $59. But StarCraft 2 is just on sale right now, and so you can pick up the digital deluxe battle chest for StarCraft 2. It comes with all 3 of the games, so Wings of Liberty, Heart of the Swarm, and Legacy of the Void. And you get all of the in-game goodies that were included in the Collector's Edition. So you'd be able to get the Kerrigan wings that were originally part of Heart of the Swarm, as well as the Protoss transmogs and the Probe Pet from Legacy of the Void, if that's something that interests you.
So see, again, you want to buy cosmetics, you want to buy microtransactions, just buy Blizzard games.
It's out there if you want it. If you want it.
No problem.
I hate microtransactions.
This isn't a microtransaction. You're buying a game.
Yeah, you just get some bonuses.
Yeah, you just get some Diablo stuff with it too.
Oh man. All right. So we covered that. We had another news section, which I honestly should have tucked into when we were still doing some Necro stuff.
Well, while we're still talking about the Necro, provided, because the web capture, every time that I click away from the web capture, it stops working. I just want to do something real quick. Okay, getting it to work. I just want to play the Necromancer Sizzle reel.
Oh,
because this video is actually really cool for
really
those
awesome.
that might not have seen it. We'll go through and just play this real quick before we move on to the next section.
Let's sizzle.
So cool. So cool.
Agreed. I still think, I still maintain that the Grace of Anaris is the best looking set.
I'm kind of torn between the Rathma set, which is the pet set, and the blood set. The blood set looks amazing if you tint it like with one of the white dyes, because the inner recesses of like the rib cage and such are all still red, so it looks like you actually are made out of bone with the blood coming out. It's really cool if you haven't messed around with the transmog.
Nice. Now I have to. I mean, I hadn't even. I was just looking at them on their default, but
yeah.
I can only imagine the insanity of the transmogs. That sounds sick.
Mm-hmm. And I found a way of making the Pestilence set look like a penguin.
Look like a penguin? I was just going to say that.
All right, guys, I'm signing off. Thank you very much.
That's where Leviathan draws the line. He can put up with years of just, dick jokes, but you mention penguins, and he's done. It gives him kind of like, it triggers him a little bit because it reminds him of Archon, who left us to go train penguins how to play Pokemon on the moon.
Miss you, man. Pour a little bit out for Archon. Oh god, that's water on my computer.
As long as the new boxes are not harmed, you'll be fine.
Yep.
Oh boy. But yeah, so actually this is a great lead-in back to something we kind of skipped over. But Lionsword, the whole reason that we originally brought you here was because you had just, when the episode was going to happen, you had just gotten into the beta, and we thought it would be an interesting experience to have someone who was sort of new to the Necro talk about it alongside us, who had already been playing different versions of it as it had changed within the beta. So now obviously closed beta is over, right?
Yes.
So I think I would like to hear your initial thoughts just from getting to play it, and then potentially what you would like to see when it releases live in terms of any sort of adjustments or things that you think it would need to kind of get off the ground.
So going in, before I had gotten into the beta, I had tried to avoid really seeing a lot of Necro streams and like what people were doing with it, because I wanted it to be a pretty fresh experience. I didn't want to have already conceived notions on what was strong and what wasn't strong. I think the class is in a fine place. So this is my first initial thought. So I didn't play Necromancer as a main in D2, but I played a lot of Necromancer because it was always like my class that I enjoyed playing from like 1 to 30, 1 to 40, and just to mess around with. Mm-hmm. And I enjoyed the pet builds with as many skeletons and as many skeleton mages as you can have. My first reaction to the build, the pet specific build, was that it is way too reliant on skeleton mage. Like the build revolves around skeleton mage, and that's not, when I think of a pet set, that's not really how I had envisioned the set working. You see, it's especially when they first unveiled the class, right? Like you have, oh, it's so cool because you can activate your skeletons and sick them on individual monsters, and you have direct control of your skeletons, compared it to the Witch Doctor, compared to the Necromancer from D2, when you couldn't. Like, the pet AI is just dumb as crap. You have the ability to, you're the commander of the dead, and I didn't feel like a commander of the dead. I felt like a mage spammer, and I didn't really like it. So I don't like the pet set as is currently installed. I messed with it. During the beta, they nerfed the poison skeleton mage, the AoE. They nerfed that from 175% weapon damage to 100% weapon damage to try to, I assume, get the other runes more play, and just to make that specific rune less overpowered. Because let's be honest, it was easily, it's the only rune you'd ever use.
Oh yeah. Far and away the best one that there was. And then not only was it like the best rune, the best damage boosters that Necromancers had were all around poison skills.
Right.
Yeah. So I didn't like that. I didn't like how it was created. I didn't like how it played. So I played it like 10, 15 riffs and said, I'm done with you. Was it called Bones of Rathma? I think that's the name.
Yep.
I was like, I'm done with you, Bones of Rathma. Get out of here. I'm going to test this really cool blood set, because this looks hard as crap to play, right? Like, you have to manage stacks. You have to, like, literally use your own HP to generate these stacks. And I figured out a really cool, ironically enough, skeleton mage build, because there's so many good skeleton mage supporting legendaries. That buffs up the damage. I found this really good skeleton mage using the life support, the one that you use your life to create a skeleton mage. And I think with enough area damage, it could be a viable build. And I thought it was really cool. He had to manage stacks, and then if you wanted to heal, you had to lose stacks. But the big problem with that build is that it took forever to get going. It was really hard to get off the ground.
Yeah.
Especially that specific build, since Skeleton Mage was really my source of damage. Building stacks was creating a Skeleton Mage, and then I'd have to have a corpse, and then it's a whole thing. But I figured out a way to make it work, and then, like Leviathan said, like, I got into the beta on a Thursday or Friday, and then, like, that next Wednesday, they completely overhauled the blood set and changed it. They took the stacks away. And it's a lot easier to play the specific build that I had, because now there's no wind-up. As soon as you cast your Skeleton Mage, you've got the buff. So it's a lot easier to play, but it didn't feel the same. Like, I feel like it's probably the better change to have the blood set that is currently created and looks like will go live. Compared to the previous iteration with trying to manage the stacks, because I really do think that the ramp up would have caused a lot of problems. It just would have been difficult from a solo perspective to really push that and make it work. But I'm disappointed because I found that managing those specific stacks was a very active playstyle, And that's one of the things that I love about the Necromancer class is that it absolutely prioritizes and rewards an active playstyle. Like there's some like my Monk 7-sided strike build, I have really one active ability. Everything else is either a passive or like a defensive move. I have one attack, 7-sided strike. Like it's not super active gameplay. The Necromancer is all active.
Yeah, and in hearing you say that, like it kind of brings me looping back to your beginning assessment on Bones of Rathma, in that I feel like they could have gone a very traditional pet route with it. Like you could have seen it be the Helltooth of the Necromancer, but in order for them to kind of push forward that active playstyle, and which is clear, like that had to have been, they talk about their pillars of design and things that they kind of have marquees of this is what we really want to get across. That had to be one of the driving forces for Necro, because you see it everywhere. I imagine that's why Skeleton Mage got such a spotlight in that, because it is one that you don't like set and forget, to some degree, especially when you get like the shield and scythe set, the 2-piece set with your activate your command skeletons, and then they just do crazy amounts of damage building up, stacks and stacks and stacks, almost sort of turns it into passive play. And if they would have gone with more things like that, then it takes away from that active role of you need to keep casting, you need to keep moving and do stuff.
Yeah. No, you're right. And I think when I think about it and it comes back to it, I don't know that I want the Necromancer to be a pet class. Like, I know that it is a pet class, but I don't know that I really want it to be a pet class. Because, there is, balance in all things, and using life to create death and using death to create life. I don't know that the using death to create life is really what makes the pet class shine. With the Witch Doctor, you throw up, wall of death, yes,
literally
you do Paranado, and then you sick your minions on the world, and the gargantuans kill everything. And it's not like a super active play style, but I mean you still have to cast Wall of Death every 14 seconds, so it's totally accurate, right?
Completely.
Right.
And then you also have to cast it every time you get to a door.
But you can't cast it in the middle, because then it won't hit it. You have to cast it on the edge so that it hits the door. Yes. I think I showed this during my testing, because I didn't test the Bones of Rathma set very much at all. I like the other 3 sets way better, because they all offer something unique and different. Like they offer a different playstyle. Like it's not just pets, which I get. People want the Necro, like the D2 Necro, being pets. Totally cool. I'm glad the Rathma set exists. I'm even glad that it's the Hadric's Gift set, because that's what people think of when they think of the Necro. They think of the D2 Necro. They think of all the skeletons. That's fine. Sure. I'm not going to play the Bones of Rathma set next season. I'm going to play either Blood or Inarius, because that's what's unique about the class. Having to worry, especially, and I don't play hardcore, but I can't imagine actually pushing the Blood set on hardcore, because you're constantly draining your own life to do damage in the middle of all of this stuff that's trying to kill you while you're it's crazy, the concept, but it even on hardcore, it adds that extra level of excitement and adrenaline.
It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be awesome.
It's gonna be fun.
I think I want to play hardcore on the Necromancer just to see how many times I die, because I'm an idiot and mash my whatever button, Death Nova, down to where I have 5% HP, and then something kills me, and I'm like, oh, that was dumb. Why did I do that? And then you start all over again. I probably won't play hardcore, but
There's a very quick cycle there.
Yeah. Never mind. Dying all the time sounds terrible.
It's more how many times do you want to re-farm up the Blood set is the real question.
Yeah. So I really like the differentiation between the different sets. I didn't test the Pestilence set a ton, but I tell you what, if you want to talk about something that's really cool to see on screen,
so fun.
Like seeing corpse lances and corpse explosions and stuff just flying everywhere on the screen is really cool. And I couldn't ever get the set to work as well as Neinball did. I watched a couple of Neinball streams where he was really pushing the corpse explosions, corpse lance build. And I'm like, that looks awesome. Like, how satisfying would that be? It's really a cool build.
We heard you like corpses, so we put corpses in your corpses, so you can throw corpses while you explode corpses. It's it is a hugely a huge, like, just the visual factor is just like, wow. Like, that was the one set that and Leviathan, I know we talked about this on so many episodes, and it's like, oh, the Pestilence set, it sucks. It just doesn't look all that great. Like, it's gonna do anything. And then you actually get into it, and now I think I kind of like capped out around like Greater Rift 60s or 65s on the beta. Didn't really push, terribly high at all. It's like, and that was with not putting a lot of farm time into it either. It's definitely something that you'll be able to push like all of your seasonal goals with, if that's all that you want to do with the Necromancer. But man, it's just like, I can't put it into words. It's just it's like, it's fulfilling. It's gratifying. Just every time that you go through, and just like all of these corpse lances are just throwing themselves all over the screen and everything dying. It ended up being a lot more fun than I expected it to be.
Aesthetically, it looks awesome.
And you can transmog it to look like a penguin.
Which, let's be honest, that puts it over the top.
Of course. Yep.
So that's my first initial reaction was pet set, not really what I'm looking for. If somebody else finds that it's a great pet set, cool, go for it. Not for me.
On the beta, I think the pet set was pretty much like one of the best performing of the sets.
Yeah, and I almost wonder if it probably still will be, because this is my next question too, which I want you guys to kind of address. Is how much do we expect what we last saw on the beta? Because, we kind of went, I think there was like a week where we thought maybe they would take it down, or they did take it down, and we thought, okay, it's coming back, and they'll give us another update or change some items, but then it just never came back, and the beta was over. So how much are we expecting what we last saw in the beta to actually translate or come up or be the same when it releases for real, or like how many changes are we going to expect? But I guess my precursor to that is I wonder if they're incentivized to make Bones of Rathma particularly strong, just because, like Lionsword mentioned, it is the Hadric's gift for S11.
Yeah,
I think that there'll definitely be a little bit more pressure on making sure that the Bones of Rathma performs better. Just because, like you said, it is going to be the introductory set for everyone that's playing a Necromancer in Season 11. It was one of the easiest ones to get your maximum damage capped out, because with the proper items, it's relatively easy to keep yourself up at max stacks of Skeletal Mage, and there's a whole bunch of different variations and builds that people were doing in order to get the essence flowing to do that. It had one of the last patches that they did is they finally just went and made it so that way its damage reduction had a 15-second duration instead of a 3 and then 5-second duration, so it will actually last in between dead zones, and you don't all of a sudden have it drop off and become extremely squishy. And then just by nature of being a pet set, it gives you a little bit level of protection, because there's more things for the mob AI to attack besides just yourself. But at the end of the day, I think that probably one of the biggest things that's going to be holding back the Necromancer is it just, across all of the builds, it generally just felt a little bit squishier than other classes. I guess more akin to really akin to the Witch Doctor, in terms of kind of like its level of survivability, where you all of a sudden feel as if, well, crap, I'm dying a lot. It's because it doesn't have I don't want to say that it doesn't have as many defensive options as like the other classes do in terms of items, but they're weirdly placed. All of it, because they're the items that you would have for the defense there's a ring and like some pants, and so it's like a ring, you're giving up a lot of damage potential because the Necromancer rings are all like really good in addition to Convention of the Elements, and your jewelry slots are usually just always pretty limited, whether it be Focus and Restraint, Endless Walk, or what have you. And then the fact that they tied like one of their big defensive ones, the Golem pants of giving you the damage reduction, means that you have to also then put that into your cube or burn another jewelry slot on a Ring of Royal Grandeur, and they have like no bracers which is another big slot that a lot of classes have some sort of damage reduction potential out of. They don't have a single class bracer at the moment. I don't know if they'll even add them in before season 11, or if that's something that we might see for season 12 as they continue to tweak them and work on them. But then I think the only other one is the belt that they have access to, which is just if you have an enemy cursed with Decrepify, you gain damage reduction. And so, that one there also is then forcing what you already have very limited. You have each one of the Necromancer skill slots, because it's such an active class. It's like prime real estate, and so having to then force another skill into your build in order to use Dainty's Binding just makes you have some really tough choices in order to, well, on the one hand, I have this build and set up with the damage potential to get me to greater F90, but I'm dying every 5 seconds, and so if I take something away to give myself the defense to survive, I now no longer have like the damage potential. And it also just feels like you're really lacking that decent bracer slot, besides just like a NIMS or a strong arm.
Yeah, you make a good point that if you think about something like Raps of Clarity, right, or Spirit Guards, even though those are bracers that are activated by skills to get the defense, they're still skills that you potentially would use in those builds where you're including those bracers anyways. Like you're going to run a Focus and Restraint so that you have further incentives to use your generator. Having something like Dainty's Binding tied to just a purely defensive skill, like you said, the real estate is already so slim because there are so many good skills. It makes it a tough choice to say, well, I'm going to give up all this and more just to kind of sort of survive. And hey, now I survived, but I don't kill anything anymore. So it is trying to find that sweet spot between making sure they're sturdy enough to survive, but also can still take things down. I almost wonder, do you think they'll ever consider going back on not giving it that innate damage reduction? Because it was kind of like a Crusader thing, right? Like when they first came out, we've done this before where, hey, they're not going to have any damage reduction innate. It'll be great. Okay, we'll give them 15%. Okay, we'll give them 30%. So do you think that they could ever take it that far with the Necro too, or just rely more on the items that maybe will be forthcoming?
I think that they'll probably just go back to like tweaking it on the items. I don't see them actually going and adding in like the innate damage reduction, because it is unless you're going with the Inarius set or a blood set based around Death Nova, it is more of definitely like a range like caster. Yeah,
for sure.
So it doesn't really warrant needing that melee buff, because you're not going to be like you're not going to be in melee unless you specifically want to. And I felt like I put most of my testing actually into the Inarius set, because it was the one that I had it was the most survivable out of the sets that I played, and so that one it just felt the easiest to actually test with and push further and get damage out of. And that was just, it had some of the best innate damage reduction, just because it stacked, I think, like 75% damage reduction out of bone armor, then tied into the other defensive items. Just made it feel tankier.
And one of the great things about Inarius is that it's the completely wide open build set that the Necromancer has.
Oh yeah.
Like, as long as bone armor is up and you're hitting enemies with it, you can use anything.
Right.
And I think that's going to open up. I think that's probably going to be the most fun from a play with it and experiment build, because I mean you could come at what are the number of iterations that you can come up with of a build for that set. I mean they're almost limitless.
Oh yeah, I played. I had pretty good luck playing a Thorns build with the Inarius set. I had a Corpse Explosion based build with Inarius, and then I also had what was it? I played a Death Nova build with it as well. There's a lot of fun, a lot of potential with that one. I think because it's so wide open is one of the reasons why there might not have been as much testing with it as opposed to the Bones of Rathma. And this goes back into something that we were talking about earlier. You know, if just like the set diversity is that people are gonna. It's like, well, a lot of people tested the Bones of Rathma. It was one of the ones that just gave you the most damage potential. And, well, we're just going to focus as much of our testing on this one and not test the other sets quite as much because, oh, well, this is the powerful set that everyone's talking about, so everyone flocks to it, and not as many other people, go through and test or play around with the other sets. Or another one that we saw is, like, the Pestilence Master Shrouds, the Pestilence set. I think it was after Riker made a video on it. Everyone's just like, oh, okay, we got to test out this because this just looks freaking awesome. And then it just, it didn't really quite go much further than that. But yeah, as time goes on and more people will go through and test it out, I feel that Season 11 will probably see the most amount of Necromancers being played just because it's the new thing. But I don't think that it's going to be the Necromancer's time to shine. I think there's probably we'll see some little like numbers tweaks and stuff like that in between now and the release of in between the launch of the Necromancer and the start of Season 11. We'll see some numbers tweaks, but I think probably after that, as we go into Season 12 and they add in a couple more auxiliary items for the Necromancer, is when it will really come into its own.
I'm willing to get behind that. I think that makes a lot of sense just because it does take time to really fine-tune and eke things out. Mm-hmm. And I really, I just can't wait for next week because I really want to see what happens when tons of people get their hands on it. Because there's just nothing to replace scale, Yeah. Being able to have a limited test pool is nice, again, because you can really direct feedback and get people to hone in on stuff, which they clearly did. Like Bones of Rathma got all the love in the world. But we're going to see some really interesting developments. I'm 100% with you coming next week and weeks after. And
there's a reason that statisticians say that sample size is everything. The more and more people you can get playing with something or doing something, the better results, more accurate results you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
True story. So yeah, good things to look forward to.
Definitely. So, we are starting to creep in on that 2-hour mark there.
Somehow, some way.
Yeah, I'm a little long-winded. I apologize.
I don't think that Leviathan or myself have anything to say on that, given our our aptitude at taking 30-minute segues, and just going completely off topic.
Mm-hmm.
So I know we do have that last video to go through and talk about, Leviathan. I guess I will kind of leave this one up to you since you have the most writing on the usage of time as we're closing in on the end of the season, and every 15 minutes is one more attempt you could have made.
That is true.
Yeah, whether you'd like to go through and jump onto this topic or table it for another episode.
I actually wouldn't mind tabling it just because I know that we have something in the future where someone or some things might appreciate having that topic available to talk about too.
I like the way you think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so mystery topic. We will have to go through and save that one for later.
So spooky.
I know what it is. I can be bribed.
Send them $15 right
now. So yeah, just to go through and of course kind of wrap it up. Necromancer, June 27th, $15. get on it. It's gonna come, and you saw in the Sizzle video, or maybe you didn't see in the Sizzle video because you're listening to the audio version of this episode. But it's not just a Necromancer. It's not just the 2 stash tabs. It's more than the 2 character slots. You get new wings. You get a portrait. You get a new pet. There is a banner and sigil. I'm sure everyone cannot wait to get their hands on that. There's a lot of new content that's going through and coming in that, and of course it's going to go alongside patch 2.6, which we kind of didn't even talk about at all. So challenge rifts are also coming next week with patch 2.6. So if you don't like farming bounty mats, you get yourself a full set of 8 every week without having to touch a bounty. They add up, once you get towards the end of the season, so that's fine. We got loads and loads, new zones, new story, new content, all this great stuff going through and coming next week.
Which class do you guys think is going to be the first challenge rift?
Good question. I don't know.
I'm going to say Demon Hunter.
I mean, it's completely random, right? Like, we have no idea if they're going to do whatever was the next class based on what they did in the beta.
Yeah.
It's interesting food for thought, because it's going to be the first one, which, I didn't know if they would want to pick, like, one of the easier classes, like Demon Hunter, to, figure out which one to really get people excited about challenge rifts.
They haven't really...
Sorry,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I didn't even think about the fact that, the challenge rifts will be coming when the Necro launches and when 2.6 comes out, but you'll actually have, 3 or 4 challenge rifts when there's no season active. I wonder if those will be some of the most competitive ones, because people will just have nothing better to do potentially, so they'll tunnel in on it a little.
Yeah. And they haven't really talked about it much since BlizzCon, but we do know, at least from what they talked about, the tech behind it then, is that it is determined randomly, and that there are mechanisms in place that will devalue the chances of rolling like the same class multiple times before they rotate through all of them, but then also devalue the chances of playing the same set until they've all been played through. And so it should be a lot of randomness in what it is that we go through and find.
Oh yes.
That RNG.
The algorithm is tuned to find those unleveled gems.
No, and the level 24 gems. Those are my favorite ones.
Oh, my favorite is still the first one. The Manticore and the UE build. It's like we've got Unhallowed Essence with multi-shot, and then in the cube we've got, a Zoe's Secret and a Manticore. This is gonna rock. Nothing beats that.
Imagine like the first GR35 that you do in a season with whatever legendaries you've managed to come up with, right? Like, that's the one that gets picked for the challenge rift, and people look at it like, what in the crap were you thinking when you put this build together? But at that point in the season, maybe that's all you had.
Right?
Maybe that's like the one weapon that you had queued because like 2 hours ago you were playing a build that required a Manticore.
Yeah. Could really be the case. It's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing how everyone gravitates towards it or gravitates away from it. We'll have to really see what the impact is.
That we will. And as we make our way to the outro of the episode, we do have one last thing to go through and talk about. I guess spoilers. We'll be having a special guest on our next episode. Dreadscythe will be joining us for our July 5th episode to go and talk about the wrap-up of Season 10 and some expectations maybe for Season 11, the Necromancer, and what have you. But as he has been doing for quite a while now, he's been collecting a lot of data on the seasonal rift progressions. And he has actually wanted to go through and issue a challenge to all of the listeners and viewers of the Westmarch Workshop. So if you are still watching and or listening at this point, there is a chance to go through and win one of those Diablo Anniversary Collector's Coins. So, in addition, like the ones that we did all of the giveaways at the beginning of the year for, Dreadscythe has one that he's willing to go through and give away. And this one, what you have to do is you have to guess which class will be the top average performance on softcore in Greater Rifts for Season 10. And so basically you have to take like the seasonal softcore performance, and then it will be the top 1,000 ranked for that particular class aggregated together to see kind of like what that average GR clear is. I think is what he was doing. Was either the top 1,000 or the top, which was the full allotment of data, or if it was like he was only doing the top 100. I forget what it is, but he's got a tweet out there. So if you want, you can go through and check out his Twitter. It's twitter.com/dreadscythe. That you can go through and find, where he goes and shows the data from all the previous seasons that he's collected so far, and allow you to go through and take a guess as to which class is going to go through in Rock Season 10. So for that, go ahead and shoot us an email, westmarchworkshop@blizzpro.com, with your guess as to who is going to have the best average Greater Rift clear on softcore for Season 10 for your chance to win one of those anniversary Diablo coins. And we will go through and open this one up internationally. He's willing to go through and ship internationally, so whether you're from the US, the EU, or beyond, please go through and send us in your thoughts or your guess as to which one it will be. But to narrow it down, you'll also have to go through and take a guess as to what that average clear will be. Will it be a 94? Will it be a 96? Will it be like the Demon Hunter went and overtook Wizards, and they were able to like average like a 97 or a 97.5 clear? And so the winner is going to be taken from, of course, the correct class, and then narrowed down further from who got the closest to the actual average clear. So just confirm that one last time. You'll have to send in an email to westmarchworkshop@blizzpro.com with your guess of which class got the highest average Greater Rift clear for Season 10, and also what you think that average clear is. And so there you go. Just go through. I mean, this one you can either go and do some data hunting yourself to try and figure it out, and maybe precisely match his answer, or even if you just want to go through and throw a dart at the board, who knows? Something could happen. Something could happen.
Anything could happen.
Anything could happen.
Don't guess Monk.
Definitely don't guess hard.
There you go. We're already going and tipping your hand. But with that, also, if you ever have any feedback or awesome items that you want to send in, or any general questions, please send them into the show, westmarchworkshop@blizzpro.com, where we go through and read your comments, your questions, funny remarks, or epic loot. We can go through and show off, which actually... we didn't get any items of the week submissions now, which is kind of understandable. Normally towards the end of the season it does really die off. A lot of people are going through and they're more focused on their clears, and they haven't really found any more gear. And we'll go and we'll get some cool stuff that we can show off later in the seasons. But I have an item that I wanted to submit.
Really?
Yes.
Unprecedented.
Yeah. As soon as I can find it, where'd it go?
Neinball, you sharded that Primal Arkstone last night.
Yes, I did. But I stopped myself before I sharded it, so that way I could take a screenshot of it. That's not the item that I wanted to show off, though. Dang it, I have no idea where I saved this now. I thought I saved it in the items of the week folder there. Maybe of the week.
To the people listening on iTunes, like I usually do, this is great radio.
Okay.
I'm glad that you think so. One person does. Okay. Okay. We're getting it here.
All right.
All right. So just go ahead. You guys make idle banter while I go through and I re-edit this to go through and submit it.
So, What are you gonna name your Necromancer?
Not a witch doctor.
Wow.
That seems like a good. That's a good thing to go through and name it. Because it is in fact not a witch doctor.
My witch doctor that I named for the season was not a necro.
And it comes full circle.
Wow, there's
okay.
some foreshadowing there.
Okay. All right. Are you ready for this? Are you guys ready for this? This item I found last night, and it blew my mind. Like this is like super rare. I've not seen one of these in like literally over a year.
God, we're about to get trolled.
Are you ready for this? Ready for this?
No.
And there we go.
Wait for the stream.
Wait for it.
What is
so
this?
this wonderful item is Griswold Scribblings, and this bad boy clocks in at previously used in crafting, now has little value except to local vendors.
Wow.
I did not expect this either. It was last night on my stream. It blew my mind. I thought that all of these items were actually, they had been removed from the game. But
if you found like 50 more of those, you could use that to empower a rift.
Like a greater with 5.
Yeah, it's just it was one of those crafting mats. So you just had to click random books, in what was it, Zoltan and Zoltan Cool's archives, and it would just randomly fall out. I was in a rift that had that tile set, and I had clicked some books, and then that item had dropped out. And it was like, wait, that's a great item, but it has a weird name. What was that I found? Like, what the hell is that? And so I waited until after I was done with the rift, and I went and checked, and it was like, oh god, I didn't even know that these things were still there. So apparently you can still get some of those old crafting mats in the game. I don't know whether that's a bug or not, but they still exist, so there you go.
Very sweet.
Yeah, I had not found one in a very long time.
That reminds me of a real quick story. When I was testing on softcore Necromancer on the beta, still at the softcore stash, and I had a bunch of remember Rift keys you get from bounties? I still had a whole bunch of those. And I was like, oh man, those yellow things. Yeah, that was a thing.
I still have in my hardcore stash. I have one stack of Rift keys, and I also have Reaper's Fear, which is the crafting mat that you could get from Malthael.
Oh.
That I kept and never sold.
Nice.
Yeah.
Relics of a time gone by.
Yep. And so, with that, I guess we'll... Oh, I have one last thing. We did get a new 5-star review on iTunes. And Leviathan, did you actually go into the show notes and read this one, or have you been waiting for this for the whole 2 hours?
I actually didn't realize you put it in the notes. I just scrolled to it, but I'm waiting. I'm not even reading it right now. I just saw the name. That's it. Okay.
So the last time that we got an iTunes review was, pretty out there. And now this one, it has to be. This is definitely to date my favorite review that we've gotten on iTunes.
Oh my god!
This one comes from Funk Tropy, and his review is as follows: when I think of this show, I think Bitchin' Kitchen, tubular to the max, brah. And I really like how they go through the going through to go through this podcast. You experience highs, lows, and legendaries. I really have to go through and give this 5 stars to the max because it's tubular. So there you go. Thank you very much, Funky Tropy, for that 5-star review. We definitely appreciate that. And yes, if you like what it is that we do here on the show, please go through and drop us a review there on iTunes, so that way we could go through and have wonderful discussions like this one. And also just the more reviews that we get, the higher it ranks our show, so that way more people that might be out there looking for a Diablo 3 podcast can go through and find us. Because I think we have like one of the better Diablo 3 podcasts that are out there. Out of all 3 of them, so 4 of them.
This one is arguably in the top 4 of the 4.
That is definitely in the top 4. because I forgot that Xanth brought the Diablo podcast back. And so with that, it will then, go through and take us to our outros. So again, if you ever want to give us any feedback or to submit your answer to the contest, it's going to be Westmarch Workshop at blizzpro.com. You can follow us on Twitter at the WM Workshop. You can follow our live streams here every other Wednesday night at twitch.tv/BlizzPro. We start usually around 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. If you want to go through and check out all the topics and more that we talked about here tonight, you can check us out on diablo.blizzpro.com. We're even in-game. We are the BlizzPro clan, and, well, things are still kind of full up. So it will probably be a while before we have any open spots to go through and get in. Just people have been... Season 10 has been where it's at. People have been active. We might just finally have gotten that pure... That great mix of super active players that are all going through and meeting their that activity requirement to stay in the clan. But as spots open up, we will see about who we can go through and get in. If you don't want to leave your if you don't want to leave your current clan, you can always join us at the Westmarch Workshop, the Westmarch Workshop community. And we've also, most of us have all been hanging out on the BlizzPro Discord at blizzpro.gg/BlizzPro. Now I'm all discombobulated. To go through and hang out and chat with us, whether we're playing Diablo, Heroes, or what have you. And of course, you can follow us all individually. I'm at Neinball on Twitter, and you can follow me at twitch.tv/Neinball. Leviathan is at LeviathanD3 on Twitter and twitch.tv/Leviathan111. Stay tuned for that, as we'll see about him potentially going through and getting back up and streaming in time for the Necromancer and such. And Lionsword, please tell everybody where we can find you.
You can find me in the BlizzPro clan. My name is Lionsword, or you can find me on Twitter at WJNelson01.
There you go. And with that, everybody, we are going to bring the episode to a close while Leviathan is lying dead on the ground.
I can't, man.
I think his dog is moving the chair. I don't know what's going on.
And with that, we're going to go through to the end.
Keep it tubular to the neck.